What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to episode 85 of the Lombard Trucking Show, where I'm live right now in McPherson, Kansas at the Love's parking lot. Beautiful morning this morning. Couldn't ask for better weather. Was praying for a twister last night. Was hoping to see some action. It's gorgeous out here in Kansas. Not a lot going on, but the scenery is great. I had an unfortunate long deadhead out of the Pacific Northwest. But sometimes that's the name of the game. I said no to some cheap freight that was coming out of Meridian, Idaho. At one point, there was one load available, and nothing else really popped up after that. And that's just the way it goes. And I was looking for stuff. My carrier was looking for stuff, and sometimes you have to make those hard decisions. They're leveling with me on fuel. They're kind of meeting me halfway on having to take the deadhead out of the Pacific Northwest. But generally speaking, that's the market. It's very, very slow. That's just how it is. And the load I was offered, it was paying below $2 a mile to the truck for something that was 10 feet wide and weighed 40,000 pounds, but I had to go through the Rockies. And the biggest issue is the time itself. It would have taken me, almost I would have had to pick it up on Tuesday, and I'd have been lucky to get it off on Friday. And time is also money at the same time, not just that rate per mile. And to me, just to get out of the Pacific Northwest, I took it upon myself to have a little bit of pride in my work ethic, and I said no to cheap freight, which should make some people, which is what we all should be doing right there if you own your own truck. But without any further delay, got an awesome show in store for you guys today. This has been a long time coming. I'm a big fan of this guy. I really think he's one of the funniest people using the internet today. He's coined certain catchphrases in trucking that have always been in the back of people's minds, and he's kind of just put it out there. And it's just when you say these things, now you automatically think of him. He's the president of the Supply Chain Crisis Actors Guild himself, Mr. Joe Seppi. Welcome to the show, sir.
Good morning. So this is the internet, huh? This is what Al Gore had in mind?
We're here.
I love it.
We made it. Yeah, way back in 2000. I'm not actually, when did he say that? But yeah,
I'm not a history guy.
Yeah, this is what Al Gore was thinking of. He anticipated the rise of live shows from truck stops.
Yeah.
To talk about the supply chain crisis.
Well, good. I'm glad we're here then.
Yeah, we need to be here, man. So where are you at right now, by the way?
Right now, I'm in beautiful, luscious Green River, Utah. Hey, fun fact about Green River, Utah. Did you know it gets hot here?
I didn't, because I was just near Salt Lake and it was gorgeous.
Okay, well, you ruined it then, because now it is 107 degrees, and like I don't want to be too dramatic or anything, but I'm pretty sure Lucifer just asked me to get in my truck so he could cool down. I don't know what's up with that. I politely declined, obviously, and then told him I had to do a podcast, live stream, internet deal with my very good, almost basically. Am I jumping to conclusions when I ask if we're best friends now?
I definitely not jumping to conclusions, because I had already been floating that around, and I'm glad it's good to hear we're on the same page.
Yeah. So I mean, I just had to kick that demon out of here, and then and now we're here face to face, and I just want to say that I freaking love you, man.
I love you back, dude. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're inside the truck and your air conditioning works. Some people are not that fortunate. I know, and we were just talking before the show, like I got to finally sleep with my truck off for the past 4 nights because I was up in Wyoming and in Colorado, and because this summer has been hellacious.
Which is crazy, because I felt like I was saying the same thing about last winter, how it was hellacious, and I was begging for days like this, and now I am the worst hypocrite ever. I will never be happy with weather. That's just the thing. If it's not 57 degrees and overcast, I'm going to cry about it.
Oh man, that's a true testament to where you're from, which is actually probably the best segue we can get, because man. So what's your story? Where are you from?
Where I am from is a little complicated. Unless you're an Army brat, you would understand. But I was born at Madigan Army Medical Center at Fort Lewis, Washington. Now it is Joint Base Lewis McChord. But back in my day, it was Fort Lewis and McChord. They were separated. The hospital I was born at was all one story. It doesn't even exist anymore. And then we moved out somewhere. The only place I remember living besides Washington, the Puget Sound area, is my dad was stationed in West Point, New York. Ever heard about it? And so that's where I kind of developed a memory, I guess, before all the brain damage and trauma. But that's also how I kind of fell in love with a couple of my sports teams, was when I lived on the East Coast. I was a real young and impressionable youth. So we spent, I believe it was 1983 or 84 until 1988 out there. And then my dad got stationed right back at Fort Lewis. And that's pretty much that's just where I tell people I grew up, was like the Puget Sound area between Tacoma, Lakewood, Fort Lewis, Olympia, Lacey. That's my jam.
I think when it comes to being, and so for those who are listening, not watching, Joe
People are watching this.
They could be, or they will be. It will be.
Hair? Is my hair fine?
Perfect.
Fine. Okay, thank you. That's a segue for me stealing all of Jesse's bits too, by the way.
Yeah, Jesse, former guest of the show. We don't know who steals whose content yet, but we'll get to the bottom of it. But you have the Mets. You have the Mets bobblehead, and I think when it comes to being a Mets fan at all, because I always, the Mets are an early team that I also really liked too. And what's crazy is, though, with you is you said you were at West Point in the 80s, and you literally, when you became a Mets fan literally when they were shit hot, like when they were like the Amazons, like they everyone was going crazy for them, and then you left just in like the nick of time, because the Mets, since you left West Point. I mean, let's be real. There's been the World Series, not too, even though 2015 seems like yesterday. I mean, there's been some talent to come through. It could always be better. But man, did you got to grow up during a cool time period?
I got to grow up during a very cool, the 80s. I don't know how old you are, but do you remember the 80s?
No, I don't. I was still in my dad's nuts at the time, I think. I'm 33.
Well, okay, so your dad's nuts were definitely having a good time in the 80s then, because I don't even know how to describe it. It's like, baseball cards and the spokes your tires, run around till the street light comes on. There, like, nobody cared. Like, no parents cared where their kids went. We just went somewhere, and then we just had to be back by the time mom's goulash was ready. And so I love the 80s. And yeah, I did get out of New York just in time for the Mets to suck for the rest of my life. A fun fact about 2015, I was in Cincinnati when they clinched the pennant. And the thing that bugs me the most about that memory is I have been a whore for clout as long as the internet has been in my lap. You know what I'm saying? And I was at this game, and I'm not joking. When I am a member of the New York Mets roster, so I can say we. When we won, my family and I were leaving the stadium, and there was a commotion down the third baseline, and so we didn't realize then, but the players had come out and shake hand or high five all the fans who were still there. And how about I had my phone, a GoPro, and I believe some other contraption used for recording. Did I get any footage or pictures? No, because I am really good at this.
Yeah,
other than 2015, we suck.
You were living in the moment. That was a flashback to the 80s, which you bring up a good point, though, because I mean, technically I grew up in the 90s, and where like the only difference was like computers were starting to come out, and like there was like Oregon Trail and MS-DOS and that stuff, but like for the most part I got to definitely hitch on those same cultural moments of like growing up, of probably what you got to experience in the 80s, but that's since says like, but my cousin who was born in 2000, she there's no similarities like with our childhood, like it very 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 different, which is like crazy. Like I, as a 33-year-old, have more in common with people closer to 50 than I do with 10 years my junior. It's fucking wild.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, somebody actually, let's drop this live comment here. I guess we're taking a 34-hour break with the APU on.
Oh, actually, my truck is on, if that's directed at me. Do you want me to try and kill this bear? Hang on a second here. Is that better? I will sweat my balls off for the good of the clouts.
Hey, I mean, I had no problem hearing, but I guess C there had a hard time. But
See, I am sorry about that. Okay, please forgive me.
we'll see what he thinks. But okay, so you get back to the Puget Sound. I'm assuming that's where you go to high school. You graduate high school around there, and then where'd you go? Did you start trucking right after that?
No, dude. I right after that. So right after I graduated high school, barely. I mean, barely. I got a job at a yard service, and then fast forward to where I met my wife, and her mom worked for a wine and beer distributor, and I got on as a merchandiser. You know, the guys that are like in the grocery stores, like looking completely miserable, stocking the shelves with stuff that they don't even care about. You know, that was me. And then that parlayed into a position at Coca-Cola, and I worked there for a few years. And then that's when, after working in the warehouse for a couple of years, and I was like, backing big trucks into a dock is actually the easiest thing ever. Like, an idiot could literally do this because I'm an idiot in real life and I'm doing it. So I'm like, what's so hard about driving trucks? And then I got my CDL through them, and then I drove for them for a little while. And then I was like, dude, I'm so bored. I want to go to Afghanistan. So then I joined the Army at the age of 30 with 3 kids and a wife, been married 10 years. It was a very good decision on my part. And so that took us to Kentucky, to Fort Knox there. And I got to see and do some things, and then came back. And then we got a little homesick. I got a job as a garbage man. That was actually very fun. Much funner down there than it is in Spokane, I'll tell you that much. And then we got homesick, and we moved back to Washington. And then I transferred from where I used to work in Tacoma out to Spokane. That's where we live now. And so I just kind of got, I don't know, am I going too fast? I got a little bored. So I get curious. That's all of my career changes are out of curiosity and boredom and frustration and probably some kind of mental illness. Let's be honest. But I don't know if you ever heard about Facebook. This company that I work for, they had a Facebook advertisement, and it came right to my eyeballs. And I was like, sure, I've never done over the road trucking. I've never even driven a truck with a sleeper cab on it. I don't know anything about flatbedding. What is a winch bar? And I was like, yes, I would like to apply here. And so I did. The recruiter called me back, and he was just as confused as I was for filling out that application, given the fact that their requirements was at that time, I believe it was 2 years over the road, 1 year flatbed, that kind of deal. And I had one time I put a tarp over a load to the landfill. That was my flatbedding expertise right there. But they, for whatever reason, gave me a shot. And I showed up to orientation on Monday in July of 2019. And the rest has just been history. Well, that was my first go around. I've quit this place a few times. I mean, but nothing that they did. It's always been because of me. But I love coming back because I'm addicted to orientation on Monday. So I cannot have that slogan and not have been a 3-time orientation on Monday survivor.
Oh man, third award.
Yeah, third tour there. What kind of ribbon do I get for that?
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Orientation, I went to orientation and it popped. And I remember when I was told orientation was on Monday when I brought my truck over to Warren Transport. The first thing I had, my mind immediately floats to your fucking TikTok, and I was like, Jesus, I was like, this is everywhere. But you're right, orientation was actually the shit though, because all I did was just hang out. I got to eat for free. You just you do a road test where you don't have to do anything. I got it was, I'm in a hotel. I'm like, dude, orientation is sick.
Yeah, dude, orientation rules, man. Especially if it's on a Monday. If it starts on a Tuesday, you're screwed.
Yeah.
Ask for a new one.
Yeah, if it needs to always start on a Monday. But dude, I'll tell you what, we got a lot in common with that because I've when it comes to making career changes or just not knowing what you want to do and what your job is. And first and foremost, I didn't even say this. Thanks for your service, by the way. That's awesome. So what years were you in? Because I was in from 2008 to 12. Did we cross?
We must have crossed. Yeah, I was in 2010 to 2013.
Oh, nice. Yeah. I was in from 08 to 12. I was in the Marines. You went Army?
I went Army. Yeah, I was definitely too old for the Marines and too broken for the Navy. But I don't know if you heard about it. The Army has a waiver for everything.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Army's
their slogan. So funny story is when I was at MEPS, And for those that don't know, MEPS is what? Do you know what it stands for?
I don't know what it
Military
stands for.
Enlisting Pro something. But it's
Yeah,
like
so,
it's where all the young punk kids go before they get shipped off. And I was at MEPS, and I was sitting in front of the Army office, and there was like a group of kids that were sitting over in front of the Air Force, and one of them was leaning back in his chair, and the Army recruiter was walking by, and he kind of like reprimanded him, told him to put his chair down. He's like, "If you fall over and you hurt yourself, the Air Force won't take you, but we will." And I thought that was kind of funny. Like the Army will take anybody, dude.
no, it's absolutely true. Did you go in as like motor T? Did you drive trucks?
Yeah, so when I was talking to my recruiter, I thought like I wanted to be infantry, do all the HUA stuff, get my boots dirty and all that. And then he told me the pay for an E1, and I was like, ew. And then we're trying to brainstorm, and then I told him that I have my CDL, and he's like, well, we have a program where you can go in as an E4. And I was like, what's that pay look like? And then that was the stupidest thing I could have done because, like, no offense to 88 Mike's, which is truck driver in the Army, but like, we are the most worthless MOS. Because the reason I know that is unless you're in a transportation unit hauling big things or whatever. Like when I was in Afghanistan and I looked over at the other guys that were in the trucks driving, it was like a chemical specialist, a cook, a mechanic, and then me and a couple other actual truck drivers. So I'm like, come on, what are we doing here? But yeah, that's what I was in the Army.
Yeah, it is crazy because I had driving licenses. I had a MAP V, MRAP license, Humvee, had driven a 7-ton, and like that's the thing. It's like when you get to the fleet in the Marines, like they always send like younger enlisted guys to go get their Humvee off the rip for field ops. But I was an arty guy, so I mean we had a whole motor T unit because the guns are towed, like the howitzers are towed, and it's just like, but there's not enough motor T guys to be divvied up and sent to artillery units. So that's why like guys like me would get their Humvee license, and like junior enlisted will get it because there's just not enough like driver. The Marine Corps, I guess, just can't justify, absolutely outfitting a unit with drivers for every vehicle for a field op. It just doesn't seem like it seems like too cumbersome. But that is funny to think. In the Army, it's the same thing. Like, yeah, you were a driver, but also so was somebody else with like a different MOS. So it's just like,
sure.
what's the point of having it? But no, that's cool that you at least were an 88 Mike though. That's dope that you drove. Where were you in Afghanistan? Where'd you go?
We were at FOB Salerno, which was RC East. We were right on the Pakistan border.
Okay. So yeah, I was in Helmand. Well, you were in the Warnak province. What province was that?
That was the Coast province, KHOST.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's freaking way out.
Yeah. I made the mistake. Like I never lived this one down because I was like my first and only deployment, but we were walking around. We got there in January or whatever, and it was pretty warm, especially since when we left Fort Knox, I believe it was like 4 degrees. But I asked one day, I was like, does it ever rain here? Because everything was dust and dirt, but we were surrounded by mountains. And then every time we'd have a monsoon and all that would flood into our motor pool, like they would just be like, hey, Joe, does it ever rain here? And so that was fun to never get to live down for a year.
Yeah, no, we got flooded in February in Helmand. We had like a huge one. We had to like redo all the tents and everything like that. Yeah, it's warm during the day, but it would get cold at night in the winter. At least where we were at, I remember. But that's
dude. My only time I lived in Kentucky for 3 years. The only time I've seen a tornado was in Afghanistan. It was a baby one, but it was a tornado.
Yeah, it was a little dust devil.
No, dude, I've got it. It comes from the clouds. It's on a picture. I've got the whole thing.
Oh hell yeah!
Trust me,
yeah.
I loved clout. Remember,
dude, clout is like necessary, especially in truck, especially for trucking. Now you need clout because if you don't got clout, what else do you got?
Yeah, I mean, like right now, Central Oregon Truck Company has changed their requirements for being hired on here. It's 1 year flatbed, and also at least 10,000 followers on TikTok. So that's what we require now.
There's a Central Oregon guy parked in this lot, or at least he got fuel here earlier. I should hit him up. Which, speaking of Central Oregon truck, though, so like, and when Jesse came on, we talked about him. So you've left there 3 times, and you
twice.
said it. No,
I've left there twice.
Twice, but which means you had to come back 3.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I should have done that simple math. But you said it, no fault of their own. And one thing
Yep.
I always like to highlight on the show is good companies. And from what I see, Central Oregon Truck Company seems like an awesome carrier to work for. So yeah, what's it been like working for them? You started in July 2019. What do you where have you been? What do you haul? What do you do? Yeah, what are you doing with them?
So they are, full disclosure, it's the only over the road company I've worked for, only flatbed outfit I've worked for. So this is very limited experience, obviously. But also it's the only company I will work for. Like I won't go over the road anywhere else, or I won't flat, because they'll have, like, we'll have problems just like anybody else. But I think what sets them apart is how much work and effort and time they will put into making a wrong right. Like if something happens unforeseen, they will do everything in their power to make it, make whatever needs to happen for the driver. Like if you have a family member that is sick or in a hospital, or you need to get home for any reason, especially if it's an emergency, they'll tell you to park that truck at the truck stop and they'll fly you home. You know what I mean? So just, that's the stuff that I've noticed is we're not, I know it's cliche, but like, you're just a number or whatever. You're not a number, you're whatever. Um, they do, because when we call in to the office, our picture and our name, our profile pops up on their computer. So like they know who they're talking to. And so like when I call, 9 times out of 10, they're just like, "Hey Joe, what you got going on," or whatever. But I think that for me is just, and this is from someone that I didn't have any experience in this field, in this industry at all. And so they've basically made me into whatever I am now, whether it's good or bad, I don't know. But I feel like I've been at least a little successful. And so I owe all that to them. You know, their patience, their willingness to, like, if I make a mistake, it's nothing like you're one more of those and you're fired kind of deal. It's always just like, "Hey, you did this, now we just got to work on that and get better," and blah blah blah. And so I don't know. It's one of those places where, and I don't know if you've dealt with people like this, but anytime I hear somebody complaining about Central Oregon Truck Company, and they try to tell me like that's a terrible place to work. Usually these are online comments. Those are the guys and gals that I know did not do it the right way. Like they didn't get up, they didn't leave on time, they didn't make deliveries on time, they didn't follow the rules, that kind of deal. So you kind of out yourself if you talk a bunch of shit about Central Oregon, because I'm just like, I've been with these. I say I've been here for 4 years just because like when I started in 2019, I worked until like I think October. I got all mentally flustered and everything, missed home, all that stuff. Oh no, I worked till December that first time, right before Christmas, and then went back to Coke, hated it immediately, wanted to come back, and then right before the pandemic is when I started the second time. So I don't know how you felt about pandemic trucking, but that was, like, looking back, that was actually not bad. I mean, I kind of low key had a great time during the
No,
pandemic
no
trucking.
traffic. No traffic.
No traffic, and we didn't have to go into the shippers to talk to them. We just call them, and then they tell us where to go. It was awesome. But and then I think I had a mini blow up with one of the dispatchers, which kind of led me to go back to waste management in Spokane. Hated that because I made all the wrong choices about what line of business to go into that with the waste management. As far as like, I was a relief driver there, which I was never in the same truck, never on the same route. It was always confusing. I was always mad, frustrated, and all that. So I did that for about another 7 or 8 months. I think 8 months, and at that time, so this is how we can segue the orientation on Monday deal, how that started. On my second tour of duty, Jesse was on the road with me, and me and Jesse Barrymore are like best friends out here. Like we talk to each other every day for hours. I don't know how, but for hours we will talk every single day, just about. And he was my roommate, my first orientation. So like he was the first face I saw pretty much from Central or Central Oregon related or whatever. Um, so when I quit the first time, it like he was devastated, and then the second time, he did the worst thing you could ever think of, and that's he took a position in the office as a recruiter, which I was like, I cried for 3 days straight, dude. I was like, what are you doing? I've never been like heartbroken over a girl like that before, but there was something like I just felt like he had ripped my heart out and then stomped on it and then put on a headset and sat in a rolly chair and just wheeled right over that thing all over the place. But anyways, so once he went to the office, I kind of started having wandering eyes. Like, do I want to do this? There's nobody to talk to. Like, everybody sucks. And so I went back and worked for Waste Management. And while I was working at Waste Management, he would call me periodically, and I'd be like, how's it going? And he'd be like, oh no, this is the best. I love taking a huge pay cut and having to talk to scumbag drivers all day. And then he'd be like, so how's it going there? And I'm like, oh, I love it, And then a few weeks of that, or like about once a week, he'd call me and ask me. And then sometimes I'd just text and be like, fuck this place. I hate it here. This sucks. All of it. Are we allowed to cuss here?
Oh yeah, free speech zone, man.
Nice, dude. So I'd be like, I hate this place, and he'd be like, well, we got an orientation on Monday, and I'm like, dude, I'm not coming back, man. I'm never coming back. This is fine. And so it just kind of kept going for a few months, and then I'd call him and be like, yeah, this happened to me today. I almost threw away a homeless guy, and blah blah blah. And he'd be like, so Monday? And I'd be like, no, dude. And then he told me he was going back to trucking, and dude, I was like, I'll see you next Monday, bro. Like, sign me up. I couldn't wait to get back down to Redmond, Oregon for the old 6 a.m. breakfast on Monday.
It makes me want to go. And I've told Jesse that before. I'm like, man, if I never got this truck and I still find you guys as organically as I did, I would have. Yeah. And I even had a conversation with somebody at Central Oregon who said because I asked him, I was like, is there any way I'd be able to get back to Texas, like either weekly or sometimes every other week? And he was like, we could definitely make that happen. We can do that. The only negative stuff I heard is one kid told me that he just thinks they've gotten too big. He's like, oh, I think they've gotten a little too big, and maybe they're a little bit busier. So maybe he had like some communication issues and was just like, I'm gonna leave. But dude, it's a testament to what I've said in this, because I've talked about this in the show plenty of times. The local jobs, like the Coca-Colas, the beverage distributions, like they say, like they justify being home every day to paying you less and working you to the fucking bone.
Oh, dude. That's my number one comeback for people when they're like, usually it's comments, on these videos. And I don't even get that many, but the ones that I see usually trigger me immediately. But they're just like, I make same thing you make, and I'm home every night. And I'm like, dude, I can be home every night if I want to, starting tomorrow, probably. Like, when I was going home, my back hurt, my knees hurt. I was mad. Like, the only days I enjoyed would be like Friday, from the time I got home on Friday until about Sunday morning at 10 a.m. And then I'd get the Sunday scaries from there on, like, here comes Monday again, and this is going to suck. Not to mention, like, the day cab stuff I was doing was like route based, you know what I mean? So it's like my brain just cannot handle the same routine over and over. Like, this is perfect for me to be all over the place at any given time, even though I'll go through, just like any truck driver, I'm sure you go through your ups and downs and your emotional deals there. But this is exactly what I need to keep my brain stimulated. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, it's a lot. I remember that was one of our CDL instructors even said that. He's like, a lot of guys after 3 months, they come off OTR. He goes, they end up going regional or local, and like they get on these dedicated runs, and yeah, the monotony will literally fucking kill you. Like the monotony of like having to go to the same places, like, yeah, especially the beverage distribution where, yeah, you're unloading all those, and it's like, you're done with work when you unloaded the trailer, but it takes you, it takes your whole 14 to do it. Then you got to get back to the place, and then you got to drive home.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, it's backbreaking work. Whereas, yeah, out here, OTR has its dilemmas. Parking, for like, parking is a huge dilemma. But at the end of the day, like, I don't need to, like, I don't have the Sunday scaries. I know, like, I'm going to go pick up 20 minutes away in Heston, in Heston, Kansas. I'm going to get this load chained down, and I'm just going to start driving south. And it's just like, it's on my own clock, as opposed to, and then after I drop this off in Laredo, like, I'm kind of like, I have this eagerness of, man, can't wait to see what's next. Like, what are my next load offers going to be? Like, what do they got? Where's it going? XYZ. Like, there is like that like that unknown is always like a perk of the job, I think.
Yeah, for sure. I'm with you. I'm not. This is like I think the only job. Like when I do go home, which doing this, it's kind of cool because I basically get a week of vacation every month if I want it. But when it's time to go back out on the road, I don't get that feeling of like being stuck in a cage how I did when I was with either Coca-Cola or Waste Management, where it's like, you work here 1 year, then you get 1 week of vacation, two weeks. Like, get out of here, man. Like, I don't even want to. When I come back off of vacation, when I work for Coca-Cola, I didn't even want to live anymore. It's like, just take me out, please. You know what I'm
No,
saying?
dude, it's absolutely true. I mean, that's one of the biggest things I harp on. That I'm going to the CDL Life Summit in Kansas City in
Oh,
August,
dang.
and there's going to be a lot of like carriers there, and the guys from the show Cents Per Mile will be there too. Good friends of mine, and they like that's one of the biggest things I'm going to be talking about is like the pay and benefit structures at a lot of these companies, especially the local ones. Like I know people who work at companies wherever they may be. They started off for 3 weeks, and then after 2 years, they got 4, something like that. And just the idea, just to work, yeah, like I said, like 1 year you get 1 week of PTO, and then that 1 week isn't even based off of like a weekly schedule. It's like based off of like 40 hours worked, so it's even less. It's like it's an absolute joke. I'm with you there, but man, is it like, and that's what those local jobs do to guys. They have even worse turnover than the regular carriers. But you found yourself with Central Oregon. You said that they've made you who you are, and you talk about who you are. When did Joe Seppi really start to take off? What got you? Because you got a big following you got a nice growing following on Twitter. You got a lot. It pops. You guys have an awesome Facebook group community, and on TikTok, you're very well known. How did that happen? What? I know you love the clout, but there must be a
Yeah.
storyline.
The storyline's probably kind of weird, but like so Twitter was my first love of the internet, and I guess I sort of started growing there maybe 29. Actually, it was similar to when I started trucking, really, because I had a different friend named Jesse that me and him actually have. We joke we have a podcast. We haven't had an episode in like 2 years or something, but we started doing a little podcast. We call it sports, but there was nothing hardly sports about it. We talked about like the Great Wall of China for an hour one time. But anyways, so he really hyped me up to a lot of his, because he was kind of growing the same, or he was growing faster than me at that time on Twitter, and he would kind of just every once in a while just be like, hey, you guys need to follow Joe, he's funny dude, blah blah blah. So I just slowly started growing on Twitter, and then and I got a decent following or whatever you want to call it on there, and it's mostly like baseball fans or sports fans, but I'm kind of like entrenched in the Major League Baseball like community, if you want to call it. We just call it MLB Twitter, baseball Twitter, or whatever. But once TikTok came along, I didn't even know what to think about it at first. I signed up for it, and then just like, I don't know, I tried to feel for what it was about, and I didn't know if it was for me, because it's like they're saying that's built for 30-second attention spans, and I'm like, my stuff is way more than 30 seconds, So I would try to do the little trends and the whatever, no dances, but just like the little lip sync things, and nothing really ever came of that. But then Jesse came along. I will take credit for him, actually. I talked him into doing it, into getting the TikTok, and then I was trying to explain to him how TikTok works. I'm like, hey, just kind of got to keep it short, but you're funny, but you can do it. You just got to, cut it down, because this dude, is a storyteller, and nothing is quick and easy with him. But so he started doing his TikToks, and then I'm like I was literally, when he started doing them, where he'd take like whatever the full 2 minutes or whatever the old version was, where you could only, I think it was only 2 minutes or 3 minutes maybe, and he would take up the whole time, and I'm like, that's not how I do it, kind of deal. And so but credit to him, man, he just kept doing it, and then he started to grow pretty good, and I'm sitting here like, man, a little jealous. Like, I was proud, but also like, I want it, like I want that, and so he started growing and growing, and then it was so weird. We were actually running together, and I started getting I would just kind of latch onto him, and I'd get some of his followers I started interacting with them, and then we kind of had a little, the trucker TikTok kind of deal, and but nothing too crazy. And then me and him were on a run out to Ohio it was right after Labor Day. We left my house going to Ohio, and I think we were in Minnesota. And one day I was like, you know what? I'm just going to try, because, okay, let me back up. In the pandemic days, like 2020, I want to say, me and him tried to do the YouTube thing, the vlogging.
Mhm.
And we like to joke and call that the Steve Packer days, because we would make our YouTubes, and these things, like, I can't even go back and watch them. They're so poorly edited. They take forever. It's like me talking right now, stumbling over my words, everything like that. And so, but there was this one guy named Steve Packer that would comment on both of our videos every single day. It was awesome. So we just called it the Steve Packer days. But we tried the daily vlog type of deal. I'd be super excited if I got like 40 views, kind of deal. And so I thought, so back to when we were running over to Ohio together, we started in Minnesota one day. I was like, I want to try to do like some kind of vlog format and just see how it goes. But it was intended for Twitter, because I didn't hardly have any followers on TikTok. So I thought maybe Twitter would get a kick out of it. And so I did it on Twitter that first day, and it got a pretty good reaction. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. So then I did another one, and it got like half the interactions. And then the next one was just dead on arrival. Nobody gave a flying shit about it. You know what I'm saying? And so I was like, damn. So then I put it on TikTok, and it did pretty good. Like, for what my videos were doing, it did like decent numbers. And so I was like, okay, and Jesse was always in my ear, like, you got to be consistent. You got to post every day. Just, stick with it, kind of deal. And my first few videos did pretty good. And then I just kind of kept going. And I was just doing them every day. And I kind of was doing some for attention, obviously, but a lot of it is for me I can look back on, you know what I mean? Like, it's kind of like a diary for me to be like, oh, dude, because it'll bring back all the memories I had, because I can feel like I'll watch an old video and be like, I'll be right back in that place. I can remember what I felt like if I was anxious, if I was whatever. And so I was doing it for that reason as well. But there's just this one video. I was doing a reset in Billings, Montana, and I think the video was like me doing my laundry. I replaced an air filter underneath the bunk, and I made eggs or something like that. And I woke up to like an insane amount of notifications. I think I went over like the 10,000 follower mark. I think I'd started that day at 4. And so I'd gained like just so much attention off after that video. And then almost every video after that, it was just like all the comments and the reactions were just like, I love your videos. This is awesome. Keep it up, blah, blah, blah. And then some of them were funny too, where they're like, I have no idea why I'm watching a guy just do his job, like his normal job, but I can't stop watching, kind of deal. And I was just like, dang. And then Jesse was always there in my ear, like, dude, these videos are awesome. Like, keep going, blah, blah, blah. So I don't know, man. It's just, I owe everything to the people that watch these videos, because they started out, like I said, for Twitter. And on Twitter, you can only do, or at least before Elon, you could do 2 minutes and 20 seconds. So I was trying to keep everything short and compact. And then, once I realized that Twitter didn't care about it anymore, I just strictly went to TikTok. And then I would cross post it to YouTube, because my mom doesn't do TikTok, but she would always ask me, like, where are you at? What are you doing? Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, here, just watch this video. And then, so I was cross posting them on those, gave up on the Twitter thing. And then every once in a while I joke about, do not tempt me. I will make these videos longer. And I would get like so many comments and be like, dude, make them 20 minutes. We don't care. And I'm like, dude, stop. Like, that is enabling. Okay. Do not do that, because I might, I might try 20 minutes. But, no, dude, like, I don't know if you ever look in the comment section of one of my videos, it is a straight up vibe, man. They all pass most of them do. And the ones that don't, like, they will get buried by, I call them my internet moms. Like, they will get buried immediately. Like, it's kind of like, I don't know.
Yeah,
It's like an online family, like I feel like all these people are riding with me, and it's nothing crazy to where like I feel like I'm in danger, I'm being threatened or anything like that. It's like I try to keep, on purpose, I try to keep it pretty, I don't know about wholesome, but like G rated ish, maybe PG, but because I get a lot of comments too. They're like, my 8-year-old son or my 10-year-old loves your videos, blah, blah, blah. So I try to keep that in mind. But I mean, I'll still get off the that's what she said jokes, and all that. But it's awesome to see how many people are watching from all the different areas of the world, dude. Like I get, like this morning, there's a guy from Denmark that was like, I just binged all your videos and now I want to get my CDL and move to the States from Denmark or whatever. And I was like, hell yeah, dude, come on with it. And then, you know, it'll be, or the ones that I love the most are like 58-year-old lady that lives in somewhere in Arkansas, and she's like, I have nothing to do with trucking, but for some reason I like watching your videos every night before I go to bed, so thank you. And I'm just like, no, man, like, thank you for like taking time out of your day to watch this nonsense. But yeah, that's kind of
your comment section. So for people who aren't familiar with Joe Seppi, which after this you definitely got to go follow him, and if you don't have TikTok, you know, I mean, that's your prerogative. Like I've said before, I know it's melting children's brains, but you know, if you use it the right way, it's definitely provides some good entertainment. But his videos essentially just sum up his day or just a short time period. But like you're and it's just the quips you have. But what's just as entertaining as your video is the comment section. Like is the comments people proceed to leave under your videos, and I think that and I call these people the one more guys who they always and they because they know, like, people in the trucking industry now, they know so much about Central Oregon truck because of like guys like you and Jesse. Is guys they're only trolling in these comments, but they'll be like, how many miles did you do today going 64.5 miles per hour? Because they know your trucks are governed, they've played in and your fans have played in on the initial like hate you would get, or like the shit talking where they play into like you know what it's like into going slow. And the comment section itself, it makes for quality content, and it goes along with like how powerful personal branding is. Like, you know, you mentioned becoming a Mets fan. You were a young kid who's easily influenced, is like the words you use. And when it comes to like what we can do as like people, and it's like people who make shows and podcasts, like there's a brand out there that there's a demand for people's personal branding. Like, people like sports teams because it it's like it represents my city, or it's like you remember a really good time in your life. But like, you're somebody who, when people watch your videos, it changes their whole day around. Like, they're cracking a smile because of it. And it's like, I think that is like some powerful stuff. And just the people from Denmark, I had a guy a couple weeks ago, he's from Ireland, and he's like, hey man, I found your show. And I'm like, yeah, he's like some 50-something-year-old guy from Ireland. And he said, like, somehow my podcast showed up for him. It's like, and it just popped up. And even the video I made with Jesse to promote the episode I did with him that got, 750,000 views. A lot, like those are the best comments of, I don't know why this is on my news feed. Like they'd be like, I'm into crafts, and this popped up, and this popped up in my feed. So it's like, yeah, I know the algorithm's lethal, but it's like, but from our corner of the internet, I don't know. I think it's pretty fucking awesome.
Yeah, man. Every time I wake up and I look out, there's like some bag that's got like Coke Zeros and donuts and stuff like that. And then some maniac in Oklahoma, I got to give him a shout out. CW there, CW Martin. He left me like his old fishing cooler just stuffed with Coke Zeros and ice, and then like gloves and all kinds of stuff. I'm just like, I guess in my brain, I'm like, how do I repay this individual immediately? But like, another part of me has to accept it. Like, that's what they want to do, is like to show, I guess, appreciation for whatever it is that I'm bringing to their day, or their whatever their situation is. It's like, I guess I just got to accept that. But it's gotten a little easier for me to grift these people, which I was accused of in another comment section. Is a great bit now. Because that's the other thing about the people that leave comments regularly in my videos, is when I mention like one thing, especially if it's just me trying to be petty, they will latch onto it, and then just like, it'll be there forever. Like, I think it's been about 2 or 3 months now that in one video, I jokingly said, you guys keep forgetting to remind me about washer fluid, because my washer fluid was super low. And now every single video is, did you check your washer fluid? Like, I've get at least 5 or 6 comments every video. So it's just stuff like that and I guess where I feel like sometimes I don't do a great job is trying to express how appreciative I am of them, because like, I know that it takes a lot to get somebody's attention span, but to keep it for like 6 or 7 minutes or whatever these videos end up being, like, I understand that, you know what I mean? So for them to take that time out of their day to actually watch my stuff is pretty cool. And like, I don't think ever be able to repay them, you know, like I feel like I should, but it just, I don't know. I do feel like these people are pretty close to family, you know, just especially the ones that comment all the time. Like I've had guys show up. There was a guy actually in North Dakota a few weeks back that brought me some pulled pork and like fried rice he done on the grill. And he's like, anytime you're in Valley City, if you're stuck here in a blizzard, like we do snowmobiling and all this other stuff, I'll pick you up, man. Don't even hesitate to ask. And it's just like, dang, man, it's just cool. And then I was home one time and me and my wife were walking into a grocery store and this lady was walking out and she recognized me and she's like, oh, you know, watch your videos. And then she like her eyes started welling up and I was like, oh, what's happening? And she's like, my dad was a truck driver for, 30 years and your videos, blah, 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 just make me miss them and give me a lot of good memories because I wrote. And it's just stuff like that you have no idea sometimes the impact you can have on somebody. So I try to generally be a good person just because, especially I guess now that I never know who's watching me, like with whatever attention that I'm getting. But it's something that you don't know who you can affect and have a positive influence on somebody just by being you, having a personality, not being a jerk, stuff like that. So I try to take that as serious as I can, being a clown, but then again, like, shoot, I'm not gonna lie, man. The last 2 days, I guess that's another thing on my videos that people appreciate because I see the comments where the last couple of days have been a struggle, like mentally and just like sleep deprivation wise, and I'm just like, this is me. I'm not gonna sugarcoat anything, man. Like when you see me and I look like dog shit, it's because I feel like dog shit, and I'm not gonna fake a smile and I'm not gonna be like, oh, today was awesome, even though the wind blew my tarp off this load 3 times and I've got sweat and sand and dirt everywhere and whatever else. But I think they appreciate just me trying to be as real as possible for the internet, so like I'm not going to ever show my piss jug that's directly underneath this floor right now because I try to keep it professional.
Yeah, no.
Where do you keep your piss jug?
I got 2 Gatorade bottles actually, like right in front. They're off camera too. Yeah, I got two. You got to get those wide mouth Gatorade bottles. Those are the money makers.
Yeah. Well, you do. Yeah. I don't. I can use this 16.9 ounce water bottles. Are fine for me.
No, dude, you're true to point on being authentic. I try to be as authentic as possible too. I probably don't show. I mean, I show. The thing is, I let out like when I make my running videos.
Oh, dude. Can I stop you real quick? Every single one of those videos, like it actually, sometimes I'll wake up in the middle of the night and just as a reflex and I'll grab my phone and I'll click on and I'll check the notifications. And a lot of times your video will be like be the first thing to pop up and I'll watch it. And then I'll just be like super motivated for no reason at 1:43 a.m. You know what I'm saying? Because you're telling me I got to like seize the day and the wind is blowing through your mullet. And you're just like, you're yelling at me and you're running. And I'm like, how is he running? And I can't even go for a walk and like not be out of breath. Like this maniac is just sitting here. Anyway, sorry to interrupt you. I just got to say, I love those videos, dude.
I'm sorry that they hit you at the wrong time. Yeah, when you're trying to go to bed, you want to run through a fucking wall.
Yeah, dude.
But that's kind of where I like let out some of like my like because it's been like since because I got back in May. And, I was down for a little bit. And then since I've been back out, and it's just like, you would think in a normal market, things would turn around. It's just, and since I've been back out, it's been just like, cause I'm trying to work on all this different stuff with fitness certifications. And since I've been back out, it's like, it's been hot as shit. Like, me getting back to the Midwest has been like a pain in the ass. And it's like, I let a lot of that, and that's just how I kind of recalibrate myself. It's like, I dig deep, realize it sucks. And then I want to put that energy back out there within those videos about like essentially turning bad shit around. That's kind of how I do it. There's a little bit more of my like authenticity and probably emotion on Instagram for me. Instagram is definitely because of stories. Like Instagram stories are just like, you can talk to the camera more and people throughout their day, just like see how your day's going. So that's where I think Instagram has those perks, but No, that's another thing. That's what's best about. I really think that's what took your brand off. Is yeah, you are kind of G-rated, like where it's just your day. You go through your pre-trip. Yeah, your language isn't as crass as maybe mine is, but also like the authenticity. I think you show. There's a lot of drivers out there because well, I mean that's one of the biggest things I went on national news to talk about grifters. You're not a I know it's funny you say you're a grifter, but and people think you're a grifter because you're getting free Coke Zeros. But there's a lot of truckers who like to purport on TikTok that their life is the shit, that they make all this money, they get all the miles in the world, like they drive this truck. Like there are a lot of like people who twist and try to make the industry like look at what it isn't like it and like all the time. And there's a lot of drivers, and you can pick them out. Like you could pick them out, but to people who don't know much about trucking, they can't pick that shit out. Mm-hmm. But that's the thing. Like when they see guys like you and Jesse and Bethany, who like when they see like people like you actually authentically engage with people too and have the conversation, it's just like it's a nothing but win. It's a non-losing scenario for what you got going on.
Yeah, and that's another credit to Central Oregon because they have never tried to muffle me at all. Like they've never told me, "Hey, relax, you can't say that. Don't do this. Like be careful." But it's only ever been, "You're doing a great job. Keep it up." Like we see what you're doing and it's awesome, and we're getting a lot of positive feedback from drivers that come in to apply. And because like what I was trying to, once me and Jesse kind of realized where this could go, we joined forces, which is why we got him. Like I kind of tricked him into doing the same kind of logo that I've got, because I want us to be like a team, you know what I mean? And so like we do get a referral bonus for getting referrals, but we split everything now. Like we are married here. And so so with that, like where was I going with this? Central Oregon, just like you guys are doing great. Like just keep it up. There was one shipper that apparently I got snitched on for not using the dog leash while I was tarping, and they didn't like that, so I had to remove that video. But and then even with that, Central Oregon was like, they're like, yeah, it was just some other jealous driver, but you're doing fine. Don't stop anything what you're doing. Just keep it up. Like you're doing great. So like I wouldn't have any of this opportunity if I didn't have a company that completely had my back 100%. Like even when we talk shit about Trent, like Jesse moved his desk into the bathroom after trying to get me to swap trailers one time. Matt Ellsworth like helped him, and he's like the some fancy big shot guy in the office there. He helped Jesse move Trent's desk into the bathroom. You know what I mean? So it's like they know when they can have a good time in there, at the same time as keeping it professional and like keeping the company to be profitable and everything. So yeah, man, this place rules.
I'm glad you're talking about, because like all I do is lambast against like ETA and their affiliated carriers, and we need to highlight the actual good jobs in the industry, because it's the only carrier I can think of where, like, when you think of a conventional workplace that somebody works in, like where you engage and interact with your coworkers, like when I was at Pam Transport, like I would try to give Pam drivers a holler on the CB. They don't got fucking CB radios, and like you don't engage, like you never engaged with the corporate, like the HQ would have like a barbecue every year, but it's like Pam is so big, it's hard to get like actual drivers there. So it's like but then I got to work for a smaller carrier, which only has like 25 trucks, and you'll get that more. But for Central Oregon's kind of a bigger outfit. You guys, I think, how many tractors are over there?
Oh man, I think the last I heard we were like 370 maybe. I might be way off, but it's somewhere in the mid to upper threes. And I know we're growing because like I know my fleet alone, I think this time last year there was like 92 in the all 48 part of the fleet, and I think last time I checked the app, I want to say we were at like 180 something. So I mean, just my fleet alone of the all 48, because we have like all 48, Western 11, and then like dedicated maxi fleet and so on. But yeah, we're definitely growing. I mean, they can't, like Kenworth can't even keep up with the trucks that they're supposed to be giving us. So yeah, it's awesome.
your engagement as a company, like with like just the fact that you guys have that sort of relationship with the people who work at the office. I mean, it's a
Hmm.
testament, and I think should be kind of like a wake up call to other carriers out there. It's like employee engagement is like goes a long way, and I'm not talking about just having like. It's like people will be like, "Oh yeah, you need to have a pizza party on Fridays," and it's like, no, it's like actually having a relationship and like a it's not so much. And what's crazy is because I'm looking at it from the idea of being a contractor for a carrier with owning a truck, but carriers need to look at their relationships sometimes with drivers as business partnerships because the drivers are who drive their business and who drive their revenue.
Yeah, and I've always had the mentality that it starts with leadership and good leadership on in any line of work, really, even if from the civilian side and especially the military side. But it's like if you have a leader that's willing to get down in it with you and show you they're willing to do whatever you have to do. I don't know about you, but it motivates me, and I will work. I'm not say harder, but I will my mentality will be a lot better where I'm not just like screw this guy. It's like I'm gonna kick ass today because they're I know if they were in my position, they'd be doing the same thing, or if they had the opportunity to help in any way, they would kind of deal. I don't know if any of that makes sense, but
Yeah,
like
paying it's that they paid their dues. It's like
exactly,
yeah, that's huge.
yeah. And so like our president right now, Luke Williams, who's the son of the founder of this company, he was like cooking us breakfast on me and Jesse's orientation 4 years ago. He was cooking us breakfast because I think the cook was out that week. So it was like him and some of the other upper office personnel were like in charge of the grill. I was very confused when I walked in there or realized who they were and what they were doing. I'm like, dang. But it's just that's kind of the tone they set there is like nobody is too big to do the whatever job is required. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I love that. And I know we're going on time here, but you mentioned the leadership and everything like that. You had a video that good friend of the show, Dooner, had put on What the Truck of your tarping capabilities. Rumor has it you could be the best flatbedding tarper possibly in the market. And
Yeah.
it did so this came from Central Oregon. What's the method behind your tarping skills magic? Because I'm assuming because every time I'm chaining down a load, I don't really tarp here, but every time I'm chaining down a load, I like look back and I think, in the back of my head, I'm like, I bet you that's not how he'd do it. Because I think about that because I think because I've gotten that before. I was chaining down a tractor at ILS in Waterloo, Iowa, and this other guy in his like 50s, he's like, nah, I wouldn't put that chain there.
Dude,
Was,
that's so funny. The that's not how I do it started when I told Jesse like I would because when he got a lot bigger, a lot faster than I did. Like he took off way before me. And so I liked going through his comments because, most of his videos would be him tarping his load or working his load some kind of way. And he'd always throw every single strap he could because he's like an alcoholic, but for strappers. And so he's doing all this nonsense. And then like all the comments would just be all the time, like basically that's not how I do it. So I wanted to do a video where he did just something mundane and it was in my kitchen. I think it was just him pouring a drink. And then I just like said, that's not how I do it. And then that's how that took off. But yeah, dude, I love the internet. I love the comment section and I love people because we like it or not, you do need those people that they haters as they are called. And that always want to make sure that you suck at this and that they rule, even though they have no like content to back that up. It's very important to the ecosystem that is the clout grifting.
Oh yeah, no, I'm a big fan of the negative comments. I love engaging with them. They're definitely the best. We actually have a live commenter, and this helps because so your tarping abilities, because you seem to tarp a lot. How many loads do you think you tarp at Central Oregon?
Cool. Jesse did a breakdown one time, and I think his is probably pretty accurate. Maybe 60% of our loads are tarped. Like right now, I'm on a load that's not tarped. 2 loads ago, I was on a no tarp load. So I'm like over the last 2 weeks, 50%. So it's not as much. I know a lot of people think we tarp every load, which always cracks me up to get these comments. When I tarp a load right after being on a load that was not tarped for like 4 or 5 days clearly in all the videos. And then the comment will be like, why do you guys tarp everything? And I'm just like, my God, man. I even had a time where I think I had 3 straight no tarp loads. I get a load that I had to tarp, and then they're just like, why are you tarping that? Why you tarp everything? And I'm like, okay, that's totally fine. Like, because I love tarping, and if I could tarp everything, I would.
Yeah, no, that's good. I like that work, dude. The calories out. I'm all about calorie expenditure.
Yes.
And so,
Yes,
yeah,
sir.
tarping makes the world. Tarping makes the world go around. Now you've got but you've got a whole method behind it. How many tarps do you normally use? You use 2 or 3, and they're 100 pounds, right?
So I've got 2 sets of tarps. One set is 9-footers that we use normally for like lumber, taller loads, and then the shorter ones are 6-foot. Those are about 100 pounds. I think the 9-footers are about somebody made or weighed them a while back. They're like 140 pounds. But yeah, we just use 2. I think there's been one time that I had a 50, and they're 26 by 26. So theoretically they can cover a 52-foot load. But I think one time I had to haul a 53-foot load that I had to throw a third, like one of my 6-footers in the middle. Anyway, but my method has just been developed over screwing up like a lot over 3 or 4 years. Like I'm still to this day, I'll do something slightly different, and I'll be like, wow, that's way better. And it's just been that kind of process, and then trying to learn from. And to be honest, a lot of my stuff I've learned from Jesse, because that guy is like so intuitive and like innovative, I think is what I was trying to go for originally there. Innovative, and he can adapt to any kind of shitty situation. Whereas me, I just want to pout and throw things and cuss. That's my initial reaction to adversity. Where he's like a problem solver. And so just watching him, and I'll talk to him and I'll be like, hey, I've got this load that sucks. Like, I don't know what to do. And he's like, oh, we'll do this, this, and this, blah, blah, blah. And then I'll be like, oh, okay, cool. And then just little things that I've learned from other drivers. Like we got a guy, Adam, that me and Jesse were loading with in Idaho. And he just some simple thing like a paint roller in the stake pocket to keep the tarps back while you're pinning down your back flap, just stuff like that you just pick up and keep with you. And you're like, man, this job is way easier now. Because me and Jesse like to joke about our first tarp jobs ever. And mine was, so my very first tarp job, I got assistance. So I don't really count that. My second one was funny enough at a shingle place in Minnesota. And this guy loads me, and then I start throwing my 9-foot tarps over like a 3.5-foot load or whatever it was. And then the forklift guy comes back over to me. He's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm tarping this. And he's like, why? And I'm like, because my machine said I have to. And he's like, I've literally loaded this same thing like on 4 of your guys' trucks this week, and none of them have tarped it. And I'm like, I don't know if this is a new guy test or what, but I think I just have to tarp. I was so stupid. I didn't even call anybody to be like, does this need to be tarped? Do roofing shingles need to be tarped in the middle of summertime? And so that's how dumb I was. It was also 95 degrees or something with all the humidity that Minnesota likes to offer. And so I definitely had to get in the truck. Like I was just a chicken with my head cut off, running around the truck, didn't know which way to start, what lines I needed to tie where. It was a disaster, but I eventually got it. And then I got it down to Iowa, and the guy said the same thing there. He's like, why is this tarped? And I'm like, I have no idea. I'm really good at this. And he's like, well, you don't have any room to really untarp it here, because all it had was like a driveway, and I was definitely blocking that. Cars were running over my tarp trying to get into the place. But starting from then, you just learn to A, ask a lot of questions, and B, if you do something wrong, don't continue to do things wrong. Like, isn't that the definition of insanity? To keep doing the same thing over and over again that doesn't work. So you just try to make little adjustments. It's just, I mean, same thing, I'm sure, with everything you do. I mean, you've made adjustments here or there to make your, like that first summer I worked here, I lost so much weight because I was moving unnecessarily. And now I get fat as it's like 100 degrees because I'm like, I know the easy way now,
Yeah, I've definitely, I'm still learning. Yeah, asking questions. I still send pictures to other drivers. Hey, how would you do this? Like asking questions is something that's like very paramount. And it's like, yeah, at first I was like hell bent on not wanting to cut chains, or not wanting to do, like, I was like, I want to do more with less, where, you'll like loop it around 2 axles and pull it. But it's just like, but then I started carrying different stuff and different air conditioning units and these combines now, and you got to use T-hooks with the combines. And it's just like, really you're not doing like a 20-foot chain is just taking up too much space. So it's like I had to cut chains. It's because like chains are fucking expensive. So I was like, I don't want to cut this. I want to use it to the best ability. But you got to, like, you can use a chain that's only this long sometimes, because all it needs to do is hook to a T-hook and the binder, and then you just yank it down. You realize like what you can do, and that there's so many different ways. We do have a question here from a friend of ours from TikTok. He's got a question about your hair.
Oh wow! Why is Joe's hair so much worse than Jesse's? That is crazy. My barber might be watching this. He's definitely not. His name is Kino, and look, this is like a 4-week grow out right now, or 3-week grow out. So I'm not going to really put it on display, but I take very great offense to that question. And I don't know, do you have the ability to block and report and also have somebody arrested on the internet?
Let's see if I go to these buttons. I could technically, StreamYard gives me the ability to put this user in timeout, which I don't know what that does. It says put user in timeout, or I can ban user and delete their comments.
Yeah, I want to delete their existence from the internet. That was very harsh and unfair. I also apologize to Kino right now.
Yeah, Kino's a good guy. You're humoring him. And then we also, so you mentioned shingles, you mentioned lumber. We had another commenter in here. He's saying, he was asking what kind of loads you normally carry, because I actually noticed Central Oregon recently. You guys have some Conestogas, and I noticed one of your Conestogas has like is it a reefer unit on it? It looks like it has like the front of it's white and it kind of like comes out a little bit on top. I don't know if it's a chiller or.
No, I think that's just a regular different type of Conestoga. It's got the door in the front where they walk, like from the catwalk, they can just open that door and walk into the load or whatever. Yeah, it's just a regular Conestoga. We haul basically whatever will fit in the dimensions of a 48-foot. I think we do have 53. Yeah, we have some 53-foot trailers. But like for me, it's anything that'll fit on a 48-foot flatbed and it's inside the dimensions. Keep it under 13.6 and whatever. What's the law? 3 foot of overhang. Is that good that I'm asking you what's the law? I've been doing this for a while. I'm really good at this, by the way. It's totally fine. But yeah, a lot of my stuff is lumber just because of where I live up in Spokane. I'm surrounded by lumber places. I don't think I've hauled anything besides lumber when I leave the house. And but like I love doing flat steel, which is like, I don't know how you feel, but low and heavy is my jam. And I think probably the coolest thing I've got to haul was like Boeing airplane wings. Like they prefabbed them in just south of St. Louis there, and I brought them back to the Northwest. So that was another thing where I had to tarp them, and there was another Central Oregon guy there that he was like, I have no idea how to do this, but I'll help you so that I know how to do it on mine. And it goes back to how you're saying just helping each other out here is pretty cool sometimes. Like this morning, there's a guy parked next to me. He had an oversized thing, and some of his wooden boxes had like shifted or broke or something. And me and the guy that's parked on my other side, another flatbedder, we were just like, we were helping this guy to try. I mean, I wasn't doing any help. I was just doing all the clout chasing, and those two were actually doing the real help. But it's cool to see guys cooperating and helping each other out, which all goes completely out the window when I'm trying to merge over at 65 miles an hour to get, when there's a disabled vehicle on the shoulder and nobody wants to let a 65 mile an hour turtle in the left lane for 2 seconds so he can pass. But we don't have to go there. Time constraints.
Yeah, we don't have to cross we don't have to cross those bridges. We know that those dilemmas look like. That's why we're against speed limiters on this show. We talk about the FMCSA trying to lay down the speed limiters. Wait until everybody's speed is limited.
It's going to be a nightmare.
Yeah, it's going to be a whole lot of fun going on interstates out there. But that's awesome. I was wondering what you guys did. So Central Oregon, I'm assuming, you guys probably don't use brokers much. You guys kind of have like customers, regular customers.
Yeah, I believe we have regular. See, and this is the thing. I don't know a whole lot about the internal works, but like I'm pretty sure Central Oregon like brokers their own freight, I think. But yeah, I've never had a problem waiting for a load, even now when the freight market is absolute trash. I have not had to wait. A lot of times I'll get a call and they'll be like, do you want this to this place? Or like, I'll have options, you know what I mean? So it's just another highlight of this company is just no matter how bad it gets for seemingly everyone else or most everybody else is they're able to keep plugging away because they're so diversified. That's how they explained it to us anyway. It's how they're so diversified that when the market goes bad, they're not beholden to one type of freight. Like we don't do just rebar, or we don't do just lumber. It's like we can go to another place or commodity or whatever to ship, so that we're not just sitting there stuck with our thumbs up our butt.
No, that's a huge perk. I think it's right there on the website. Is that if you're waiting for a load longer than an hour, you're getting paid for it. And I only bring that up because an earlier comment somebody was asking about when they think we're going to see rates go up, and I personally, just from the logistics side of view and from who I talk to, it really doesn't look like rates will pick up overall until Q2 of next year, given that student loan payments will come back in the fall. Which isn't going to really help demand. And I still think that the quote peak of the holiday season will be just as flat as it was last year, because I mean, things aren't getting better. But that's actually really good information people need to know, because I'm on Facebook groups and I connect with drivers. I connect with drivers pretty often. Guys on TikTok have been saying that they've been left waiting for loads. They've been having to sit a lot. And that's not happening at Central Oregon. And I think that that's information any driver who's listening to the show may want to take into consideration if they're trying to maybe either sell their truck or they're looking for a different company. Like, yeah, it looks, because you guys are still hiring as far as I'm concerned, right?
Oh yeah, dude. Still orientation every Monday. And I think I've gotten that $100 for waiting an hour one time. And that's because Trent had one too many breakfast burritos and was probably in stall number 2 for a little extra time. That's the only reason I got that $100 to wait. But no, dude, I would say I'd be pretty confident guessing over 90% of the time I have a load before my truck is empty. Like I've got my next load. And so when you're doing this, that's number one. The most important thing is to keep it moving, because obviously we're not making any money unless those wheels are a turning.
No, you're absolutely right. And it's cool that they give you offers too. They don't just like throw one on you. They'll be like, hey, you want this or that? Like getting options is always another perk too, depending on, because if you are, that's the thing. And I've talked about that on another show before too, is like, I think that's another thing carriers need to do to adapt with the incoming generation is, as drivers become tenured, like I made a TikTok video about it. I'm not sure if you'd seen it, where I talked about how like wages sometimes top out. And like about how people are a little bit about how even if you have 20 years experience, you're sometimes only looked at as somebody with 2 years experience. But somebody with 20 years should be able to either work, like dial back how much they work, or be able to be local, do more local stuff, or freely be able to pick what the jobs they can do. And I think that's awesome that Central Oregon lets their driver has that option available. It's not all the time, but
yeah. I was just going to say, to clarify, that definitely isn't every time. And I'm not going to say if it's for every driver, but I think if you build up enough of a reputation for getting deliveries on time or early, that they're more apt to be like, I don't have to worry about this guy. Like whatever I give him, he's going to get the job done. So I'm not going to say like you come in and then your first day, they're going to be like, all right, you have 3 options. Where do you want to go? It's going to be, you have to work up to that kind of thing. So I don't want to give any kind of false representation here.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We had another person in the comments asking what company, and I mentioned it's Central Oregon, and he was asking, is 65 cents a mile good for this market? And where I asked him if it's for, and he says it's for dry van, and I would have to agree, 65 cents a mile if you're doing dry van, even as a W-2 is very good pay rate.
Yeah, we're making 64 cents a mile, and I'm pretty happy with my paycheck. So
yeah,
I don't know how much does he get $100 extra to tarp his dry box, or
to open the doors,
the door, break that seal.
It gets it on. But hey, man, we've been ripping for a little bit. Anything else you want to lay on the track?
No, I just want to say I appreciate this opportunity, and it's really nice to get to talk to you face to face, and hopefully one day we get to run into each other, and I can give you a big old bro hug.
Dude, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So you're all over lower 48. We'll definitely be in touch. I'm going to start calling you calling you more too. I guess you have to split your 11-hour clock half with Jesse, and then I'll take up your
Yeah.
your other half. And yeah, we'll link up. I'd love to jump on a show with the three of us, and we can collab on something and engage in some trucker talk.
That would be awesome. I would love that a lot.
But before I let you go, where can, because I know that my friend Daniel Graves, he had asked about video vlogging, and I said, hey, Joe does all his video logging on TikTok. Where can the people find you on the internet? Where can they see your clout?
So all my clouts on the internet, you can. So like on TikTok, I think it's underscore. I'm not. I think I know. Okay, I'm a professional. It is underscore JoeSeppi _. So that's TikTok. And then I think on Twitter, you can just search Joe Seppi, same thing. And I think all of them you can search, and it's going to be me and then this English dude with one of those, that frog guy cartoon thing. Those are like the only two Joe Seppis that come up, and I am not the frog. Okay. So, but yeah, search it up, and if you like it, hang out. If not, leave me a nasty comment so my internet moms can come after you.
Yeah, we love to see it, man. No, I appreciate you coming on, man. You are a breath of fresh air when it comes to the internet, because some of the truckers on TikTok. Well, number one, there's a lot of negativity out there because of the market, because things have been bad, because of the regulations, and a lot of what I talk about on the show sometimes is the bad, and because that's what we're trying to do is try to get the conversation going, to make some changes, to make it better, to make this industry, to make this career sustainable for the next generation is essentially the overall goal of this show. And to do that is to talk about, hey, there's bad stuff going on, but it's also good to know that there's good stuff going on. There's people who are posting about how a trucking company should treat them. There's people showing how a trucking company should train them. And there's people showing that there's a trucking company out there that treats their employees, with respect, and then not only are treated really well, but they go out and they put that out there on social media to show you, like, hey, this is what it's like. This is my life. It's not perfect, but life doesn't demand perfection. It just demands that you show up, and I show up every day, and overall, it's great. And like your content out there is just like a level of infectious positivity that definitely the algorithm needs, man. And what you shine back out shines right back to all of us and onto you, and we love it.
Man, I appreciate that. It was very humbling to hear, and what I appreciate about you and your style is that, I mean, you said you highlight the negative things, but what's behind your negative comments or your videos or whatever is like you are trying to build a you're trying to make it better or fix whatever's wrong is what I'm trying to say. And it's not just complaining about everything. You're trying to find solutions, and then that's why I love you, man. Like, you're motivating as hell, dude. Yeah. If I could say Semper Fi, I would, but I'm not a former Marine, so I just say I know it.
Hey, we both got to wear the jersey though. That's what matters. Yes, sometimes I miss it very much, but hey, we're doing this now. And like I said, I'm trying to find and get the solutions out there. And to be perfectly honest, part of the solutions is people seeing what Central Oregon's up to, and people seeing what guys like Joe Seppi are up to, and that's what we need to keep doing. Keep the conversation going, keep it rolling, and just the supply chain crisis. It needs actors, man.
Yeah, dude, we need all the actors. Orientation on Monday.
Orientation on Monday, baby. But dude, thanks again for coming on. We'll do this again soon. People, you know where to find him. TikTok _Joe Seppi _ That's where you can find him. That's gonna do it for episode 85. Any last closing remarks? You got a CB radio, right?
I do. It barely works, but I do have one.
You know who Mud Duck in the Desert is? I want to let you walk it out. I'm gonna let you walk the show out.
Oh, I don't know what Mud Duck in the Desert is.
Oh, you don't know him? Okay, I guess I'll walk it out. You never heard the guy on there who goes safety first? Be nice to each other on those highways and byways. Get yourself a real radio.
I'm a real fraud out here.
Oh man, yeah, he's probably the highest paid supply chain crisis actor of them all. He's got I
need to show some more respect.
Yeah, he's got a big radio out there in Las Cruces, and and all he does is talk shit to people on a CB radio.
But get on board with that.
Yeah, I've stolen his moniker and how he closes out, how he talks on his radio, and I was like, dude, it's such a cool slogan. I'm going to say the same thing. And yeah, with that, guys, that'll do it for episode 85. Thank you once again for tuning in. With that, we're back to the bench. Take care.